Welcome to my channel. I am Deborah, and I am going to continue to dialogue with you about a series associated with narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is something that a lot of people are not really familiar with. They may be familiar with some of the traits of narcissistic abuse, but unless you really experience it and get immersed in it, it's a very difficult, first of all, it's a very difficult experience, and it becomes very foreign because a lot of times as we're dating, we don't necessarily associate the person that we are dating as a specific personality type or trait, having specific traits. So this particular episode of narcissistic abuse, I'm going to focus on devaluation and how that impacts you, your spirit, your mind, your body, and soul, how those things converge when you are dealing with narcissistic, when you are experiencing devaluation. First of all, if some of you are not familiar, a lot of people around YouTube and in the clinical community they tend to use the term supply. And what that refers to is the person that is actually experiencing narcissistic abuse, the person who is the empath. So they are the narcissistic supply. So if you're new to my channel and this happened to be the first video you've ever seen on narcissistic abuse, that's pretty much what narcissistic, when you hear the term narcissistic supply, that is the person that's actually experiencing that. When I first heard that term, narcissistic supply, I was a little bit apprehensive about how to receive that. And you may be the same as I, very, not very educated on what that means when it comes to dealing with this personality type. But that's just a term that's being used for somebody who is highly empathic, somebody who is very giving, and they have something of value to offer the individual who is a narcissist. Narcissists, when they begin to have any type of interactions or relationships, there's always something that's in it for them, and they feed off of another person's emotions, whether it's up or down. They feed off of their emotions. And so during my other video, if you haven't checked out my other video, please go back and check that out. It's about love bombing. It kind of gives you a overview of what love bombing is, what that experience is like. Where the narcissist is showering you with a lot of love, affection, and attention. And so go back and check that episode out. I'm not going to go into a lot of details with that, but check that episode out if you want to learn a little bit about narcissistic love bombing and that particular phase. What I'm talking about today is devaluation. When you're dealing with a narcissist and they are either not getting their way or they just want to, everything is going along very peaceful, they become like very disruptive. They're really highly disruptive people. They thrive on that. They thrive on being able to rile you up, to not give you a sense of balance. That's done on purpose. They always want you to feel on the edge. They want you to always feel that you are not doing enough and that you are not enough. And so you not being enough, many a times the way they feel like make you feel like you're not enough. They spend a lot of time, calling you names, making little innuendos, maybe perhaps about how you do things, how you look, how you approach things in life. They even call you names. You would think that that type of behavior is adolescent. It comes from, some place in their childhood where they were wounded. And it's a very deep wound. But somewhere in their childhood, they found that it was a valuable way to be able to get what they wanted, to actually get what they want from other individuals, at the same time make themselves out to be the victim. When I was years ago, I was in a relationship, and I happened to be in a relationship with a person who was a narcissist. And what makes that important is I'm able to share with you my firsthand life experience with that type of personality type. They tend to try to make you feel less than who you are. They get you off balance, and then you second guess yourself. And that's what I did. I second guessed myself a lot. As I grew up in a very, very strong household. I can't say that about everyone, because you have so many every one of us come from extremely different backgrounds. Mine just happened, I happen to have great parents, but they just never taught me about this particular personality type. And so this individual would say little things to nag at me. And the thing is, at first I was like, okay, maybe I can improve in this area. What they're doing when they are devaluing you is they're watching you to see exactly how you respond and how off-centered you are. And it makes them feel good when they make you feel lower than themselves. And over time, you'll notice that many of these people who are highly narcissistic, it's very difficult for them to be faithful, because they're always looking for the next supply. They're looking for the next best thing, smoking. It's not a normal thing. Despite what most people think, there are, infidelities do happen in relationships. But when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's very prevalent. They are never really fully committed to the relationship. They're committed fully to themselves. They're fully committed to living their best life at the expense of yours. And that is something that's very hard to get your head all wrapped around. The problem with that is many of them, it depends upon the degree of narcissistic personality that you are dealing with, determines whether or not this person can be physically abusive, because it's not uncommon for this personality type to be even physically abusive to you. In my lifetime, I've only dated a few people, but I have ran into that personality type at least a couple of times. And I asked myself, what is it about me that makes me more, prone to that personality type? First of all, I'm an empath. And what that is a person who actually I understand the way, I take the time to understand where another person is coming from, and I sympathize with the other individual, and I can put myself in their shoes, and I am more of a nurturer. I'm not one of those people who is trying to be rescuing, the rescuing type, like I'm trying to rescue somebody. So that's not exactly what my personality makes me do. But a lot of people who are empaths do try to rescue people. They try to become that Bob the Builder type woman, or that a man who is, because there are men who run into women who are narcissistic, and that woman is looking for that man to do everything for her. She has nothing. She's not trying to do anything to enhance her own life. Now, that doesn't mean that I support a woman going into a relationship and being having that masculine energy or so. But I do feel like a lot of the women who end up falling prey to these narcissistic men, they tend to lean more towards their masculine energy rather than than that feminine energy. And that is, you want to be out to rescue them. You want to help basically be like a Bob the Builder type of woman with these men. And while you're doing that, and I digressed, but and so giving you the example, but getting back on topic, being a certain type of woman who is always trying to please that man, trying to please that woman. A lot of things can get lost. Like the more and more you try to please that person, that narcissist, the less and less they like you. That's what it may seem like. And they have more and more gripes. Nothing that you do is good enough. They're jumping on you for just about anything. And if you just step back for a minute, and I know it's very hard to do, but if you just kind of step back and start evaluating how that individual engaged you, in your life, as far as like your relationship, did they call you names? Did they do things like that were quite disrespectful in a relationship? Like there was no respect. Like, say for instance, for some women, they may live with the guy, or the guy may live with the girl, and your partner stays out all night, no explanations. They hide their phone, and then when you even ask them a question about what's going on, you're always out late, this, that, and the other, they're getting completely pissed off. They will call you, they will put, the relationship is always on the line. So they begin to talk about you. You're no longer that wonderful, beautiful person, that unique individual that they first met, that they love bombed. And then so what you spend time doing, trying to get back to that person that they loved. So devaluation is any behavior that the narcissist does to devaluate you, talk about you, mess with you, to comment on you emotionally, to make you feel bad about your very existence, make you feel bad about the choices that you've made. And they rarely, they want to control you. In the initial stage, they did a lot of validation. So what you'll find yourself doing as they are devaluing you, they're technically training you. So they're training you to seek out validation from them. Nothing is okay unless it's okay with them. And over time, if you find yourself always questioning everything that you do, and nothing's right unless this person is fine and okay with whatever it is, however it is that you're doing, they're using tactics on you. And some of them may or may not quite understand that because they don't recognize that, oh, okay, they're the narcissist and this is what narcissists do. No, this is just an everyday behavior for them. So usually when they are devaluing you, it's a very hurtful thing. You know, you will find yourself thinking over and over again, what is it that I can do to make this situation better? What has it that I've said that, you know, that has caused my loved one or, you know, my partner to be in this? Surely it is not that bad. You know, most of the time it really isn't. They will make a mountain out of a molehill. And there's absolutely nothing that you could do. You could probably go up and set the sun, and they'll find something wrong. I know that's an outlandish example, but a lot of times they will. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. When they are tired and they've maybe found some other supply, you know, to preoccupy themselves with, you're like a little toy. They just throw it. They are willing to throw you away like trash. You'll find yourself feeling like you are trash. And especially if what they do is they have like whirlwind relationships. Everything is real fast. Everything is done so fast. And if you have been intimate with them, they begin to devalue you from the moment that you're intimate with them, because you were a challenge up until that point. So them now, don't get it mixed up with just, you know, somebody just becoming disinterested after they're intimate with you. I'm speaking specifically about a personality type, and this happens to be an attribute of that. And so this, you know, so the narcissist will, because they are not the most faithful creatures, you know, out there, they tend to look at everything in the eyes of like, I've conquered this person. And so they will, it's like having a toy, you play with it and they cast it aside. And then the toy wants more attention. They slap the doll in the hand, they talk about it. And then when they've gone too far and you even feel like you want to walk away, then that's when they start back treating you for a short period of time, which they cannot even keep it up, you know, decently, to just draw you back in. The problem with that type of behavior, it begins to continue to build these trauma bonds. And trauma bonding is such an unhealthy way for, you know, for two people to bond. So in the devaluation stage, they are just in the process of getting ready to discard you. And that's going to be another part in the series. That, you know, one of my next things that I'm going to have a dialogue and talk to you about. So, well, for now, if you have any questions regarding devaluation, which is just verbal abuse and some physical abuse, for some, which all of that is bad, all of that is terrible, those are signs, possible signs that you are dealing with a narcissist. So in my series about narcissistic abuse, please check back and take a look at the other video regarding love bombing. And I'm so happy that you guys joined me just to hear a little snippet about exactly what narcissistic abuse when it comes to devaluation is. And please like below, like my video below, subscribe to my channel so that you and I can grow together and I can share with you my experience with narcissistic supply and narcissism, and my advice for relationships and living your best life, mind, body, and soul. Any Anyhow, I am really excited about 2020, and I look forward to growing with you in 2020. Bye.